Well, hi everybody. This is Don with Wizard Tower Games. I am with Paulie Kidd.
Hi there.
Well, we are here to talk about our last go live on our Backerkit. We're going to be answering your questions. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Backerkit. We're going to talk about once the Backerkit, since we funded in 4 days, it only took. Thank you very much to everybody.
Oops, that was me.
Yeah, you can hear us,
Get off.
Paul.
Get.
You on there?
Yep.
Okay, just want to make sure. Paulie's about 9,000 miles away, so we want to make sure that the connection's clear. And we're going to be talking about one now that we're getting down the last 5 days, what the last stretch goal for 7K is going to mean, and along with that, what's going to happen with fulfillment, how are we going to fulfill it, when is it going to particularly happen, and how we're going to be doing it. So I'll kind of let Paulie take it off for a minute. Paulie, you got anything to say? You want to say anything? Or
Yeah. Look, it's been really fantastic seeing us fund so quickly, um, and it was. I mean, it's kind of exciting then being able to get onto some add-ons for the game and so on.
yeah,
So I'm hoping we get to that 7,000 mark because we had like a character sheet portfolio that we wanted
yep,
to do as our 7,000 mark, but it looks like we're going to do it. So it's been
yep,
a really good campaign.
yeah. It really. We're about three backers away from attaining the $7,000 goal. And to let everybody know who does not know about this is if we hit the $7,000 goal, we're going to include with everybody. You can been one of the first backers. Everybody will get a player character record portfolio. So it's a player character record sheet. It's extremely detailed. Oh, I'll break my neck grabbing one. Um, it comes with a separate set of several uh, different types of player characters and everything that you can actually pull out, cut out, and put into the player character record sheet itself. The PC record sheet is, like I said, it's a multi-fold. Let me pull this out real quick, see if I can get this showing to everybody. So it is a multi-fold, really nicely well done, well laid out. On the left side is basically your base player character, and on the right side is the way your character is structured with like their chest and legs and arms, and you can add equipment very, very precisely where the equipment's at on your character, including, you know, if they're carrying a backpack or whatnot. So it's going to be a really cool add-on to people if we can hit the 7K. Again, we're down to like three backers. Scott, how you doing, my friend? Scott Mulder is a regular on here. He is a big supporter of Wizard Tower Games and also WizardCon, the convention that you're going to be remotely going into in April. So, Scott, appreciate you coming in here. Um, so, I guess before we kind of get into things, I want to talk a little bit about fulfillment because that's been a few PMs and a few emails that I've gotten. People are going, when exactly is it fulfilling and how am I going to get my stuff? It fulfills in May, right after a game convention called WizardCon. Anybody who supports the project and they go to WizardCon will, and you let me know you're going to go to WizardCon with it, we will be, it'll be basically, you'll be able to get it then. Real quick, we've got a question. Um, in base Ace asks, will the character sheet be on cardstock or regular paper? In base Ace, it will be on heavyweight paper. It's actually a specialized paper. It's not your standard. The closest thing you can get to it is if you go to the store and you buy like a 32-pound paper. This is about twice as heavy as that. So it's extremely heavy, very heavy duty, and it'll last you quite a while. And let's keep in mind one thing: you're going to get a player character pack. It's not one player character record sheet in there. There's four. So you get enough for a group of four players to all play the game. So you just don't get one. Um, Terry R, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. So, kind of back to fulfillment. So, how fulfillment is going to happen is we basically have the game edited now. We pretty much have art in source. We're going into direct layout on it, and what will happen is we're ready with paper. We're ready with the board stock for the case binds and the hardcover or the soft cover cover stock. So on our end, we're ready to go with this. So it will be definitely fulfilling in May. What will happen is people will get their products sent to them, whether they chose add-ons, minis, whatnot. And then what will happen is at that time, before that, everybody will get their PDFs. So the first wave comes 1st of May, PDFs all go out. Boom. And then within the first week to 10 days of May is when people start seeing it through their backer kits, tracking numbers going up on there. So we're in a good, comfortable place with it.
Yay!
Exactly. So, anyone have any questions about the game? Anybody have questions about the backer kit? Any questions for Paulie? Feel free to ask in the comments. But so we're cocked and ready to go here. So there's going to be there. We've kind of planned ahead on this. We did not want to see any um, product issues, customs issues. We didn't want to see any issues with being late getting product and such. We wanted to make sure that we had all of our material we need in order to make the game on hand before we went ahead and did the backer kit. That's why the backer kit kept getting pushed back. So, but you want to say anything about the game, Paulie, or anything? Or
Um, yeah, I mean, there's been like those final edits through to make sure that our text is right. Obviously, as it's being laid out, there'll be a final check for all sorts of other things. Any chance you might get novels in this setting? It honestly depends on how popular it is.
Mhm.
There's not that much point spending an entire year doing a novel based on something that no one's heard of, unless I feel incredibly inspired, just to do it for the hell of it. But
Mhm. And
it's
you are
it's
going to be
certainly
publishing underneath us also under our. We're actually branching out to Wizard Tower Press, which is going to be a book and game publisher. So, Paulie's actually one of our first people that's going to be putting a game or not game, some books underneath that. Excuse me. So,
yeah.
and I think you're right, Paulie. I think it's going to depend on a lot, how successful Stars and Sales is.
Yeah,
But
I mean, in my original, well, my old role playing game, Lace and Steel, I wrote a novel in that setting, Moss of Curbridge. That was the first novel that I ever got published, and that was, I was 20 something and full of enthusiasm. But that's kind of the only time I've really done a games tie-in that wasn't a company asking me to do a games tie-in. Um, and I have enjoyed those a lot. But
Scott asked how close we are to 7K. Scott, we're about $145 away from 7K, so we are on a razor's edge of getting it. I think we're going to hit it because we have 5 days left on the backer kit. Quicker the better, because if we hit 7K, we're going to be announcing a special $7,500 stretch goal to try to do as much as we can for people. So we're very close. In-base Day says, how will the information most needed by players be separated from the information most needed by the GM? Paulie, I'll leave that to you.
well, this is because it's not like a thing where we have pre-written out enemies and pre-written out scenarios. Players are perfectly welcome to read the entire book. There's nothing secret. Um, there's no secret umpire only sections, eyes only. If players want to cast an eye over some of the random tables that can be used for encounters or generating star systems and generating alien species, they're perfectly welcome to. It will let them know the general field of the game, but it won't actually give them the mysterious knowledge needed to beat the game, because that's going to be generated by the games master. It's going to be created around them as the game begins. So no, it's not separated into separate books, like one for players and one for referees. In fact, every game that's ever come out generally is obviously you can read it all. The traditional dungeon master's manual from D&D, the only reason they had that separate book was because the section for umpires is just too boring. We played a D&D for years before the DM's guide came out, because it was really just random treasure generation and musing about how to do you know aerial combat and other things. So
Okay,
uh,
Paulie, My apology, everybody. We had a technical glitch here. I think it had to do with the Australia connection. So if you can go back to the very beginning of the question, it would be a lot of help because literally when you started talking, we lost connection here. Sorry, people, for the technical issues that we had.
Okay.
So
um,
basically,
yeah. Well, it's a single volume, and there has been a weird tradition where games split themselves up into multiple volumes, where one is for DMs only and one is for players only, which is an absolute farce because everyone's going to read every single page of the entire thing, and we all know it. The traditional D&D, advanced D&D DM's guide, when it came out, we played for years without it, and it was basically full of information so boring that it wasn't worth putting in the actual player's manual. How
mhm.
to do aerial combat and how to build a fortress. It's like, yeah, very useful. But so no, there's no sort of secret section in the book that's players only, because the information is all on the world and how it works, characters, how they work, skills
Yeah.
and equipment and so on, and what ships there are. And this is knowledge that would be open to everybody. And
And
then
really, if you think about it, I don't mean to interrupt, but really, when you think about it, in a role playing game, mixing DM and player information anymore is not a no no to me because they're gonna, if even if we separate this into two manuals, they're gonna buy both manuals and read them both. That's what they do in D&D.
yeah. So yeah, the rear half of the book, which is full of DM's tools for running the game, that's fine that people read it, because it will give them a flavor for what kind of adventures to expect and how that universe works. But it's not going to
Mhm.
give them secret knowledge that will allow them to somehow win the game, because a lot of it is random charts for generating new star systems, new species, um, these sorts of things. And unless they can mentally control whatever dice the umpire is rolling there,
Mhm.
the for the umpire, the sky's the limit, because they can make and create this universe if people are doing exploring, or
Yeah.
if they've made out a sector and they've got actual adventures. Find this, quest that, escort this.
Well, I'm going to kind of I'm going to on live camera throw something at Paulie that Paulie does not even know I'm getting ready to say. Um, Real quick, and that is what I'd like to see happen, and I'd like to probably get into writing one is a module for it. Have a cool
Yeah.
adventure module for it. Okay, real quick, in base day says, how will gravity work on a ship like if someone fails overboard or falls
Okay.
overboard?
So, I mean, the silly conceit of sailpunk is that somehow that mighty sailing ships are drifting through the void, and that usually implies a deck that you can walk on so bafflingly down as towards the keel, etc. So what I've said for the science of this, and I have actually said, the intro says, I'm going to give you a scientific explanation. It's rubbish, but just accept it and go with the flow.
It's a game.
That's the logic of this universe. But there is a thing called the Ethereum, which is what the sails are essentially catching. They are draining energy, which then gets fed into actual drives. But as part of this, you initiate the bubble. Once a ship wants to lift off, it essentially initiates a environmental bubble around itself, and it will enfold whatever atmosphere and so on is there. And within a set distance of the hull, there is gravity and there is air pressure and all these sorts of things. So that tends to extend to a couple of meters away from the hull and the sails. So within that area, you are safe to walk around without spacesuits and so on. If you decided to take a running dive off the ship, if you pass through the bubble area, then you're in trouble. You're in zero G and you are in whatever environment you're in,
Mm-hmm.
be it a vacuum or a nebula gas or what have you. It usually will ruin your day. The
Mm-hmm.
other little kind of conceit on this is that within the bubble there are some laws of physics are lightly screwed, which happens to mean that things like missile-style weapons are not very accurate. They start wandering off target after a few meters.
Mhm.
Meaning, of course, that if you're boarding someone, well, you could fire pistols and so on, but
Yep.
you're probably better off, drawing cutlasses and boarding pikes and having at it.
Yeah.
And that way we get our mighty blades flashing as people board each other's ships. So
Hmm.
um, it's wonderful science, and my crack scientific team has checked all the maths. Um,
But that's the whole key to, I think, any game. I mean, like even D&D, magic carpets, spells, magic items. It's kind of the same theory.
they'll drive you insane. I always loved it when you get like little geniuses working. So you get someone like making an arrow that's designed to drive a rolled up portable hole into a
Hmm.
bag of holding, thereby like causing total annihilation in X meters area. It's like, yep, yeah,
People trying to game
okay,
this game. They're trying to game the game.
yep.
So, but but yeah, like I said, and for people who want to basically support it, even if you have only backed one of the two levels, you can always go into the add-ons. The add-ons allow you to buy an extra book. You can go ahead and buy a dice bag, dice. You can get minis. You can go ahead and get a T-shirt. There's a myriad of items in our add-on section. So every little bit counts at this point. We are hoping, like I said, we have 5 days to go. And we got another question. In base Ace asks, how will you be able to quote unquote sink a ship?
So the ships are rated for essentially ship level hit points, as well as little things like maneuver, how
Mm-hmm.
much crew they take, what their armaments are, and the armaments are split into torpedoes. Um, this there are cannon, and there are swivels, which are used at close range as anti-personnel weapons. Uh, so if you are fighting in the ship-to-ship system, you check for wind gauge, which is to see who has the actual tactical advantage. If you've got the wind gauge, you can elect to flee if you can. Obviously, if he's a faster ship, he might catch you. But if not, you have to fight. Things start off at cannon distance, and as you check the captain's tactical skills against each other as modified by the ship's maneuverability and so on, you can choose to close or open distances. If you go side to side with someone, you can board them. If you strike a ship with cannon fire and so on, it does damage off the ship's hit points, but
Yeah.
for every weapon, personnel weapons as well as ship scale weapons, if you roll your damage and max, you keep that number and you roll again. Or at least that's for the personnel weapons. With the ship's weapons, if you roll the damage and max, you roll on a chart for damage to the ship. You can bring sails down, they can fall over
Mm-hmm.
guns and mask guns, so crew has to actually clear the wreckage. You can damage engines and these sorts of things. In the end, if a ship takes a set amount of damage, it is cooked. The drives fail, the bubble starts to dissipate, and it's time to leave. If you have ship's boats that are not now splintered all over the deck, this would be a fantastic time to jump aboard. If not, you're going to have to put your suit on and
Yep.
trust to luck, or wave at your attackers and hold up a big sign saying, I have a ransom, which I actually, in RuneQuest, we had people who had surcoats which had I have a ransom written across the front because
Yep.
but yeah, so a hit point and critical hit system would be the
For the
very
ships. Yeah.
short answer in that.
So Scott Mulder says, will Mr. Snoodles make a cameo? And then we got first mate, Mr. Snoots.
Well, we do have art to come. We had we had an artist initially who did some of the art for us, and she had a cartoon style that beautifully matched with, say,
Mm-hmm.
the kind of the Disney films from this genre. We are
Yeah.
getting some other art in as well, but
Yes.
of course, since there are so many possibilities for creatures, I guess we could always stick one in. But there are actually companions in the game, so
Yep.
you can get a a pet, and it's not necessarily just a parrot that says pieces of 8. There's a whole random thing for
Yep.
what they look like and what they do.
Yep.
So yes, you could have a thoroughly irritating small creature that just follows you around, or
Yep.
God help us, that you actually paid good money for. Um,
Tom from Tabletop Tap Room says hello. By the way, Tom, thank you for tuning in tonight. Glad to have
hey,
you here. And then Scout Mulder says, howdy, Tom. Tom is going to be at Total Con here coming up in about another, God, less than 2 weeks now. Oh,
I
fast
wish I could get a
approaching
con
us.
going over here. There's no games conventions in West Australia that are not
None?
none at all. And I've started many conventions in my life, and I don't want to do it, yeah, because it's just me. I don't really have a games group of sterling squaddies anymore that I can just
You know what
point
we
to and
need to
say,
do?
You're on the door."
We need to get a group together once this game goes live and maybe do a monthly stars and sales night where we all sit down and go into like Eric Tenkar from Tenkar's Tavern. It was the first time I was in it last night. Has a thing called uh, the speak tavern speakeasy, and it's basically a group chat, and it's really cool. Maybe we could once a month maybe have a stars and sales game going, and maybe bring people from all over the world into it, and maybe foster a little goodwill and foster some friendships and get some gaming going.
Yeah, we could do that. I miss conventions. There is one over here, and it's Warhammer, which
It's Warhammer's popular here too.
yeah, but it's like it's not really a games convention; it's a Warhammer thing. So it's like,
Yeah, we have that here. We have, they call them game conventions, but they're not really a game convention. It's more just kind of like a game night, and it's one game that's usually played. So yeah, we have that here
one,
too.
I used to run these massive games at conventions where we decided that, like, you can sit around at home, or in theory, with 3 or 4 other people and play a role-playing game, and you can do that anytime. So if you've got a convention, let's offer something really big. So
Hmm.
we would do a single game that would have like 100 players, and the admin on it was interesting because you had to have umpires ready to step in for all sorts of little sub games, and also you had to have people sewn in amongst the group that were essentially either NPCs or characters who knew they had certain things they had to do, but they were it was a riot giving people something that you could only do at a con. Um, it's good fun. I love
N-Base says
Warhammer Minis and hate the company. Yes, I absolutely.
yes, and then Trench
I'm a
Crusade.
miniatures wargamer, and there's a historical miniatures club here. And every now and then you'll hear someone just like having a screaming, yelling argument. And if you turn around, it's Warhammer players in the middle. So we're
And
talking 1 millimeter here, for God's
yeah,
sakes.
and the
It's
funny
like,
thing is, me and Polly are actually talking about bringing a Bushido style Japanese mass tabletop war game maybe to fruition. We're talking about it, chatting about it. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
yeah, I want to do more miniatures games. I've got a couple coming out at the moment, but it's a lovely hobby. It's what got me into gaming, and
Hmm.
there's just something about making miniatures and building stuff that's just
Yeah,
so
it's an expensive
attractive.
hobby to be into. It's just not buying 2 books and you're good. You have to buy all the minis and paint them, and it's very time and labor intensive. But Tom from Tabletop Tap Room is a mini painter. He does really nice mini painting work. So
I
um,
have, if that camera pans that way, it's just floor to ceiling shells of lead. You,
mhm.
you, you name it, I've got it. There's Napoleonics, there's Stargard, there's 6 mil English Civil War, there's War of the Spanish Succession. Yeah, it's all there.
Yeah. But I think there is, tabletop wargaming and Warhammer has proved it. And so there's a World War II based tabletop game. I forget the name. I just had it on the tip of my tongue.
Bolt
Tom, what's
action,
that World War II? What's that?
bolt action.
Bolt Action. Yes, Bolt Action is widely popular here. And actually, for the game convention, we actually upset the local Bolt Action group because they wanted to come to WizardCon. I was like, yeah, sure. And they're like, we need like 20 tables, 10 by 10. And I'm like, excuse me, 20 10 by 10 tables? And they're like, we
ten
need them
foot
all
by ten
weekend.
foot.
10-foot by 10-foot tables. And I'm like, I get your passion, guys, but can we, maybe bring this down a little bit? And I really upset the local bolt action guy really bad in the local group over it. Tabletop Tapper says, "I'm love war games where gentlemen's rules hold sway and people are not assholes about a quarter of an inch." I agree. I mean, but then again, from what I hear from Bolt Action is very, very intensive like that.
Yeah, actually,
Um, oh,
there's a game called A Gentleman's War. There's a page for it on Facebook, and it is like an old school game. It's got its roots in things like, well, it's got its roots in good old H.G. Wells, but it takes a lot of the 1970s kind of rules ideas and modernizes them so it's actually playable. And yes, it really is a kind of it is literally a gentleman's war. And it's got quite an exciting little turn system and so on. But that is kind of someone that feels your pain, someone that
mhm.
says, let's get out of 500 million charts, tables, and arguments and get back to
Well,
having something
real
that's fun.
quick, Inbase Ace asks, what do you prefer nowadays, plastic miniatures or metal miniatures? So, what do you prefer, Polly?
Me, oh, it's got to be lead. I like
Really?
that. Oh, it's got to be the heft. It's got to
See,
have the thud on the
I,
table.
we gotta have an international disagreement here. I actually prefer. Um, in fact, it's a form of 3D printing that we can do because we have large format printers, and it's actually it's an ABS style plastic, and you can get very, very fine detail on it. And what I like about it is with plastic you can get better detail than you can with lead.
7 Years War. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So it's all. I think it's all personal preference, but there's a big thing against lead here now because of the danger of it, what it can do to
Oh,
people, and
I love my
so
lead. Uh,
yeah.
there's a friend of mine runs Eureka Miniatures in Melbourne, which is a really good miniatures company, and they make lots of unusual things. They've got a range. I want to paint, and I haven't got a game to put it in, but it's basically intelligent frogs marching around with like muskets, and got a big
Hmm.
fat frog king being carried on a litter, and they just look so good. But anyway, he because he's always casting lead, he has monthly blood tests to check his
I'm going
lead
to pull
levels.
something up and show some people something real quick while you talk that I think they'll find interesting. A little trick with plastic minis. But go ahead, Paulie. Go ahead and grab the questions and everything while I real quickly pull this up.
But you don't know, yeah, yeah. Oh well, no, I still actually I've got a whole pile of lead in the corner. I've got to get around to painting. I if you watch my channel, I review a ton of games, and there's some miniatures games that have really excited me lately. And one of those was designed for 2 mil troops. Um, I play a lot of 6 mil, so 2 mil was interesting because it's a real helicopter view, but I really like it because it's the grand tactical view. So one maneuver element, which is probably about the size of, I guess, a playing card, that's a Roman legion. So you can play like the great battles of antiquity and actually have them on the table. And yeah, so none of this 25 mil stuff shuffling around in lines like a scrum on a rugby field. It was like, no, this is it. You're sending the light cavalry sweeping around the sides. The Legion boys are pushing forward in the center. It's quite an exciting game. So, boy, how do torpedoes work in the game? Well, the torpedoes are essentially they are heavy, so you can't carry many of them. When you're designing a ship, some ships have the option of um, taking some of their cargo section out and instead replacing them with torpedo tubes. They're one-shot weapons, and essentially it's a thing that you let fly, and your opponent can, if they know they're coming, roll to dodge them. So it gives you a little bit of extra oomph, but it's not necessary, and it does carve into your cargo space. So if you had a specific warship, it is likely to have some, or you do have some ships that are essentially a torpedo boat. They really don't have the size and weight to carry much of a broadside, but they
Hmm.
can stick a couple of torpedoes in, so they can like accompany larger ships, let fly and run like hell. So,
Hmm. Paul Catrone asks, Paulie, is there an old school naval war game that is the basis for your naval combat mechanics?
um, eh, Not really. The first war game I ever played was actually um, it was Ancient Sea Battles by the London War Games Group, which was triremes and galleys, and so that has always stuck in my head as great fun. Doing ore shears and so on was fun, but and then of course there was Wooden Ships and Iron Men and
Hmm.
all those great fun miniatures games. So, but what is needed for a role playing game is something that's more abstract. We don't want we don't want people niggling over maps and windage and
Yeah,
inertia,
make it
and
overcomplicated.
so it is abstracted. But the one thing that I was keeping in mind, because it's a thing that's usually skipped in a lot of like science fiction games. You got ship to ship combat. Is what do the characters do? How do the characters affect this? And are they in danger? So your characters can actually take over guns. Take over groups of Marines. Your characters might be doing the tactical roles and so forth. And when there are casualties taken, you do check to see if people are
Yep.
injured and so on. So, because it's their story, and so we need to know what's happening to them in their story.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, real quick, for people who are wondering about the weight of a mini, plastic tends to be really lightweight. And I'm going to show you guys something here real quick. If you want to increase the weight of your plastic mini, what you can do, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this up, is this is actually a mini for D20 delving. And underneath the mini itself, there is a space. And you can actually pour some resin epoxy in here or some super glue and put a washer. There's enough space. And what that'll do is that'll create one washer creates a lot of weight um, in it. So just kind of a real quick, if you want to add weight to your game, there it is. But
you kind of
yeah,
have to, because if someone goes, "Phew, that was a close one," everything.
actually, believe it or not, I know you're gonna hate on plastic. We get that, Polly. You like your lead, but you got to keep in mind one thing, and these bases, and they're a 28 millimeter mini. So the bases on them are actually pretty good size. And like with the Stars and Sails minis, you'll notice like some of them, or all of them, have like something on the base. Like there's a D20 or a chest or something else, skulls or something. So they're really cool, and that really adds a lot of weight. Real quick, um, I thought there was another. Oh, here we go. And Base says, I am 46, so I remember painting the metal figures. I'm 57. I remember them too. I've got actually a bunch of them. I've got a bunch of minis still.
Oh, they're
And
everywhere. Tabletop
oh,
wargaming is all lead.
and thanks. And by the way, I'm going to do a shout out to somebody. My good friend Jim Wampler sent me a limited set that he hand makes.
Oh, what are they?
They're they're they're
Because
four.
our screen's smaller than the actual viewers.
Oh, it's hard. It's not picking up the focus, but I got a whole set of them. Um, I believe they're from I believe oh, I don't want to say MC. It's either MCC or DCC, but they're little minis, and he hand makes them,
Oh, okay.
and he does
Oh,
such
very
nice
cool.
work. And this is like a pewter type. It's not lead, but it's metal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So,
white
and
metal.
you're
It's
right.
pewter, something
These
composite.
little tiny guys, they have weight. So I see your connection to it.
They're fun. They got a heft.
Yeah.
Actually, when I get the money, I don't have opponents for miniatures, just because the local club, I walked in and they went ooh trans, and I said, shut your mouths, etc.
Yeah.
But the I used to have in original D&D days, one of the things they brought out was a game called Swords and Spells, which I loved, absolutely loved. And Minifigs, one of the true classic original miniature producers, they did like pig-snouted orcs and gnolls. They did like original D&D creatures, and I had an army of those orcs. And minifigs are still going. caliber books in England brought over the molds, refreshed them, and are still doing them. And I really want to get those 25, 28 mil orcs back again because
Paulie, real quick, In-Base Ace asked us a question. They want to know: are there going to be solo game rules for people who are into solo role playing?
there's no specific solo rules
But I will
in
tell you
the
something.
game, but
When I went through this game, although there's no specific solo rules, I think that you could very easily play the solo by building two types of characters. It's the as an outsider, I'll call myself. I didn't design the game. Paulie did.
yeah,
And as somebody who was new to it, and when I was first looking at it and reading it and trying to understand it because I wanted to publish it, um, it is extremely friendly, I think, to solo play. And I think we can talk about this later as we lay it out. I think within probably 2 or 3 pages, we could quickly relate out some solo play rules that could really cohesively bring that into it. I really do, because they're so fluid. The way you write your rules are just you write very cleanly.
yeah. There's enough random sort of game world generation tables in there. The thing with a solo is you need something that generates the adventures themselves and somehow keeps the player guessing. And there are some tools out for that, but
Hmm. Like
um,
maybe that could be maybe the first module is a solo play module with solo play rules in it.
yeah, one of the things that I always loved was the good old Tunnels and Trolls solo adventures. I
Mhm.
adored those things, and I would love to see some of that come back again. Uh, if you choose X, go to paragraph Y
Oh,
kind of
geez, this
rules.
guy's got no pirate in him. Tom's got no pirate in him. No arg. No arg.
Actually, I mean, I've had to kind of, I've had to kind of quit the drinking because my endocrinologist says please keep your liver levels steady. But there is a type of Japanese plum wine called umeshijo, which is black plum wine, and it
Ooh.
comes in little squat black bottles, and it's kind of like what you hoped rum would be when you were a kid, and you're always seeing these pirates quaffing this stuff down. You kind of thought, oh, it must be kind of sweet and yummy, and then when you try some as an adult, you go, gosh. Yeah, black plum
Hey,
wine actually tastes the way
I
you kind of
I
hoped it.
actually love rum. My shelf, as a matter of fact, is filled with different brands of rum. And if you want sweet rum, like like something you think or a pirate drink, Diplomatico rum.
Diplomatico.
Diplomatico. It is. It is. You can drink it straight. It has a really heavy sweetness to it. Or
Ooh.
you can have. There's also pineapple rum.
Hmm,
It's really
that-
good.
oh,
Trust
yeah.
me, it's extremely good, especially with ginger ale.
I hadn't realized because I've just come back from spending many, many, many weeks in India. I hadn't realized that toddy is actually a drink.
Yes.
You always hear about someone having a hot toddy. Toddy is actually a alcoholic drink that is brewed from the shoots that come out of coconut palms. Um, so like, ha! So, what are you doing? We're making toddy. Tell me about that. So I did try it, and it was interesting. Yeah, it is kind of like a sweet rum. I tried Arak
Hmm.
too, which is,
See, that's why
I mean,
I don't
eh,
like bourbon or whiskey because I don't like the heavy burn of the drink. I don't like the flavor of it. I prefer a more sweet drink, and that's
yeah,
why I prefer. I have a lot of different international rums on my shelf up there, and if they're kind of like been chosen via a lot of experience. So I got my rum brands down, but I got a little bit of everything. I got three different brands, three different types of
I probably
Diplomatico up
have
there.
way too much here because one of my habits on my channel was to always have a different alcoholic drink as I was drinking. But my favorite is actually Japanese plum wine. I did a book series called Spirit Hunters, and
Hmm.
the idea of these are actually done as a TV series, which we're still trying to get funded. But I took the scripts and novelized the first TV series worth of them. But one of the characters in that is a fox spirit who is hooked on plum wine and so on. It was quite fun to
Mhm.
write, and some moments where it's like she's brought in because there is this giant plum wine festival and she's been brought in as the judge, and so she thinks this is going to be a great free ride. As it turns out, says no, it's a religious ceremony. Everyone else gets to drink,
Yep.
and you're supposed to be pious sitting up here, and you're supposed to be fasting for the 3 days that this goes on, while everyone else is like feasting there in front of you. Yeah, they were good fun series to do. The role playing, the Bushido campaign you wish you were playing, was
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
watchword for those. And I love writing. I love writing books like that. I love writing books that are the role playing campaign you wish you were having.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, I think with Stars and Sails, I think Stars and Sails is one of those really um, unique games. And Tom says, "Well, shoot, if we ever meet, I'll break open a bottle of plum wine with you." Um, but you know, again, for everybody, even if you've already backed it, you can always go back to it, go click on add-ons, and like I said, there are minis in there. There are t-shirt. There's a t-shirt. There is. Um, you can get a different book. You can go ahead and grab a myriad of materials. In base day says they get you drunk so you don't notice that you're sick. Yep, exactly. Um, but again, we appreciate everybody who's tuned in here. We're at 40 minutes, Paulie,
mm,
and I know you got a busy day. It's 8 o'clock and it's 8:40 at night here. What is it? 9:40 there where you're at in the morning?
9:40 a.m. Yeah, actually, the main thing on my plate today is to head to a demonstration that's starting at 4, but that's about it.
Yeah.
In support of our brothers and sisters over there in the States. So,
Thank you.
um,
But basically, we got 5 days left on the backer kit. We are probably again, we are only like three backers away from getting the $7,000 goal, which gets you the player character record sheet pack. And again, you get four of them in the pack, so you're not just getting one, you're getting four, and then you're getting several sheets of player characters, so that you can cut out and put on to emulate whatever style character you want. So, the backer kit, we're going to put the backer kit. It's been scrolling down below. You can go to backerkit.com and simply search Stars and Sales. We pop right up when you do that. And I'm also going to pop a link to it in the description once we're done with the show here. So, again, we appreciate everybody who's been in this live, everybody who has helped us and brought us there. Um, we are so close to 7K. I haven't checked it. Let me check it real quick. Yeah, we are very close to 7K, and we just want to be able to hit that 7K to be able to provide that player character record sheet.
oh, cool. We're going to
Um,
hit snow up in New England. Okay.
yeah, New
Um,
England area.
it is going to be, I kid you not, 50 degrees Celsius here this week.
Which is
Is
what,
the warning that just went out.
770?
120 something.
No, oh wait a minute, you're Celsius.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
today we were like 17 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah. 50.
So
You can literally, that is literally egg frying. So, I mean, I was
yeah,
born here, but what the hell?
yeah. But everybody, we appreciate everybody's support on here. We know that to support a crowdfunder, you have to have faith in the creator, have faith in the publisher, and me and Paulie both greatly appreciate all the help and all the support here. Even
Yeah.
if we don't hit the 7K, you know what? The game's funded. It's coming. So we've already done what we wanted to. We did it in 4 days. And we would not have been able to do that without the support of everybody who has helped with us, supported us, shared with us. Real quick,
Oh,
Scott Mulder says, "Well, friends, I rolled a one on save versus food, feeling like hot garbage. Have a great night. Thank you, Paulie. Thank you, Don. More stuff saying to you, Don, soon. Scott, thank you. By the way, I just got over the flu myself, so I know your pain. It gets better like in 4 days. Don't worry, you'll feel back human." And Tom says, "I'm in Maine,
yeah, have a hot
and
toddy.
yep, have a hot toddy." So, Paulie, thank you for the live tonight. Thank you for coming
Yeah,
on.
I'm
I know you're
glad.
really
It is,
busy.
the game's gone so well, and it's one that kind of it was definitely a niche that needed to be filled. So it's very joyous to do it.
Hmm.
Um, so we've got enough funding to make this a really good presentation. So
Yes.
I'm really happy about that. Um,
Yes. And that's our
Good.
goal. We don't want to put out inferior product. That's why we put out, we wanted people. We know we've noticed there's a trend in the funding, and that is there's people that will purchase a hardcover. They'll back at the hardcover, and then they'll go and they'll buy a soft cover. And I know what they're doing. They want the hardcover for their collection, and they want to play with the black and white soft cover. That's what they're doing, and I don't. That's smart. That's what I would do. So if you've backed it on the hardcover version, go and grab a soft cover. It's like $35. You know. So again, everybody, in Base Ace says, "Love you both. So excited for the project." In Base Ace, thank you very much, and thank you for supporting us, and thank you for supporting the project. Love to have you on here. Uh, Tom says, "Thank you, Polly, for taking this on." And we're going to let you all go, everybody. So again, thank you, get everybody. Mr. Snoots, have a good night, or good day, should I say?
Yes.
I'm going to have a good night.
Yeah.
But Polly, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and coming on here to answer fans' questions and people.
Yeah. Good to see everyone.
And we'll be back another time. We got other projects in line. Trust me, this is not our last project's going to be happening. So this is Don from Wizard Tower Games. I am with Polly Kidd. Everybody,
Bye.
have a good night, and we will see you guys in 5 days. Hopefully, we'll meet that 7K.